me becoming an entrepreneur was really out of frustration or just knowing that I could not sit back and build for somebody else.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. As you know, I always say this, it's not mindset, it's discipline.
Exactly.
Who wakes up and says, I want to be broke? It's what you're doing between when you wake up and go to sleep that determines that. That's the discipline part. You have to be smart enough to understand that that money is not yours.
Big time.
That's the company's.
Yeah.
And the whole object of having a business is to scale the company. And you don't do that by when you increase your sales, you increase your pockets. If somebody tell you that, that's an absolute recipe to lose. I want to see myself be paid a lot, but I want the business broke mentality. If you don't cause problems and be of value in life, you can't lose. And for most people, they don't understand how to grow their business based off of taking equity versus profit.
Hey, how's everybody doing? This is Drew Rhoden checking in from Masterly Studios. Today, we have an amazing guest for you. We have Johnathan Newman, the king of Chicago is what I like to call him, the CEO of Right Choice and many more. But I'll do it injustice if I try to give you his background and bio, so I'm going to let him do it himself.
You got to ask me some questions to get some responses. I want you to do it. All right. But again, Right Choice Home Care, that's the company that I have that actually got me in the situation to meet you, right? Because we belong to one of the same groups, and that's the company I have listed. But born and raised in Chicago, Southside native, public school guy, born outside the ballpark, happy though, Inglewood, Southside Inglewood, that's where I'm from. Played football, played for a stint in college, and then went away to the service, graduated from Naval School of Sciences, have some matriculation in combat medicine, and now I'm here. So
Nice.
that's pretty much it.
So, what got you into entrepreneurship? Because, one thing I know is that, you're all about your business and you're always actually helping motivate and help others around you. So what even got you to this phase? Because you just said football, military. I mean,
When you just asked that question, you notice I started shaking my head and I started thinking about how frustrating it was to work for people. I like you ever hear people say something like, this system is foolproof. Yeah, that's because you working and you got fools working for you. So you gotta make it foolproof, right? I just always had a problem. One, I saw stuff different and I saw how stuff could work different. That was my biggest thing. I saw how something could work different and someone else had doubled down on how it was the best. So it was about, no, I think I could do that a little different. And and if you as my manager is who they depend on to run the company, and you're not that, whatever. I said, I'm sure I could do this. So me becoming an entrepreneur was really out of frustration or just knowing that I could not sit back and build for somebody else.
nice, very nice.
Yeah.
And so, what would you say? How did football play a part, if anything, to become the entrepreneur that you are today?
Man, discipline. I live, Chicago is a place where, like, if you don't have the grades, you have to go to your neighborhood school. If you have the grades, you can go pretty much anywhere. So I lived, again, south side of Chicago, and my school was almost downtown, off the lake. So I don't care where you live, football, weightlifting was at 6 in the morning. And I played for a tyrant of a coach that if you wasn't there at 5:45, you were in trouble. The best discipline I probably ever have, and it's set up for everything else. He's a 42-year coaching career, Hall of Fame coach in 3 different sports. And man, he just did not accept failure. And that was probably the first time I came around someone that just did not accept failure. And he was who he was. He said it and you did it. And even people that didn't necessarily excel past high school football, they're doing amazing things just from having that discipline structure. As you know, I always say this, it's not mindset, it's discipline.
Exactly.
Who wakes up and says, I want to be broke? It's what you're doing between when you wake up and go to sleep that determines that. That's the discipline part. So discipline to me is what I push. There's nothing more important than that. And self-discipline is very, very big in running a business, as you know, because you have several of them.
Yeah, I will tell y'all, definitely football has definitely anchored the way I look at things. Because in football, it's either you're gonna be a player or you're gonna be somebody in the stands. Because I had coaches like John here who they were on us because, especially growing up in South Florida, you had an option. Either you gonna play football and get a scholarship, or you could run the gambit of I hope I get out of this situation or this neighborhood. So when it came to it, it's like, hey, our coach, he was like, hey, if you're trying to get out of here, this is what you need to do. I'm not going to force you to do it, but this is what you got to do. And I'll tell you, the ones of us that did listen to coach, I mean, we're doing very well in life. And God rest the souls of my teammates who are not here today and classmates. But it's just one of those things, too, that, if you take the fundamentals that you learn from people, it doesn't have to be football. For y'all out there, we're not saying you got to go sign for a football team now. I know we got 36U and 39U that's out there playing football now. That's not what John and I are saying. Go
At all.
do a semi-pro football team. It's too late if you haven't got there. But realistically, like making sure that you just have an anchor in your life and a foundation that's helping you get to where you need to be in life. Because I can hear in my mind, I can hear Coach Davis, Coach Morrow, and the legendary Joe Taylor, who I played for at Hampton University. I can hear them in my head. I can even say a lot of times I used to look up to Eddie Robinson from Grambling.
Okay.
Hall of Fame coach that did amazing
Is that
things.
the most winningest coach in
Yes.
NCAA football, right?
Yeah, yes, indeed, without a doubt.
I think he just got past Bobby Boughton, right?
Yeah,
I think they're 1-2 or something like that. 1-2 or
or
something.
Paterno in that mix as well somewhere. But I just remember a lot of teachings because my mom was an athlete as well.
Okay.
So my mom would be like, hey, it's more than just being an athlete, it's having that centerpiece in your life. And the centerpiece, like you said, is discipline.
My mom wasn't an athlete. She grew up on a farm.
Okay.
But there's a discipline that comes with that too. She is from Alabama. She said it once. Again, and then I'm a single parent household.
Right.
But everyone in the house went off to college. We never gave any problems. I never saw public assistance. She never taught being a victim. And I think that's so important.
Very much so.
She never taught being a victim. You had to go out and get it. She was a hunter-gatherer and disciplined person, and I grew up in a time to where you had shame. And we just talked about that. I think that that's missing. So, it's a shame if you're able to do and you don't do, So maximum effort and discipline, that's what I talk about.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And you definitely get that from when you start talking about your coach and I just start shaking my head, I think about Coach Johnson.
Yeah.
And Coach Johnson would just say these things to this day that I say to my kid. He had this big, deep voice. And he would say, negative things elicit negative consequences, And some of the other stuff he said I could never say, or you would have to stop recording. And that's where I get a lot of my inappropriateness from, probably, because that was like my dad. But within that, he was such an amazing person. And in a 42-year career, like, can you quantify his contribution to young black boys, man, black boys and girls? Because actually, I think he won state 10 years in a row or something like that with the girls track team.
Oh, wow.
He had like 3-4 Olympians and more All-Americans in girls track than he did in football, actually. So you had some girls around there that was something else. And he did this across 3 different schools. So it's kind of like, now watch this. How can you do this across 3 different schools? You got a system.
Yeah.
You know what it is to win. And all of that stuff is important. I may be getting ahead, but I'm just thinking right now, um, man, he just did not accept not doing, period. Like there was no gray area with that. And the stuff that he did with us, I mean, he'd probably go to jail for doing it.
Yeah.
Because he was your
Pretty much.
dad, he was your, I mean, everything. Like if you wanted to have a bad day, he could give you one. You know, if you wanted to suck up what he was saying and get better, you got that too. But he just did not accept. I'm fortunate enough to come around people in my development that just did not accept failure.
Right.
And if as long as you got that mindset to where you, I said mindset, as long as you have the discipline to aid you in having the mindset to do. But it still starts with discipline. Everything starts with idea, but how many people don't finish an idea? Right?
Correct. Yeah.
You got to have some follow through with it. And I'm fortunate enough, I better say this because Sharon will watch it, right? But I have a wife that's a bulldog. She can focus in and dial in like no other. And that 100% helps and is the fuel for what we do. Because if you can't have a water and grease situation because that don't mix. And even though we don't agree on everything in business, we know we both want to win, right? So she's another person frustrated by the system of doing things for people and saying I got to change it out. I got to do something different. And that's a cheat code, having a wife in your corner that understands entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing. We had a guest here recently that was talking about how his company's been able to develop from working with his spouse. Can you explain to people out there, the importance of that, or how you're even able to balance that business and family, especially if y'all are working together every day to build an empire that y'all have built?
And you get mad at each other and suck it up the next. Hey, don't stay mad the next day. I don't know what to tell you, but it's not. We don't have one of those kind of fairy tellers type things. As business partners, we bump heads a lot, but the enemy again is failure, not each other. So we smart enough to understand when we got to listen to each other. So we smart enough to understand that. We smart enough to understand when we have to increase this to make this effect. We're smart enough to understand, and I'm sure you'll start getting into this because we talk about entrepreneurship. You have to be smart enough to understand that money is not yours.
Big time.
That's the company's.
Yeah.
And the whole object of having a business is to scale the company. And you don't do that by when you increase your sales, you increase your pocket. If somebody tell you that, that's an absolute recipe to lose. And that's a first generation entrepreneur. I want to see myself be paid a lot, but I want the business broke mentality.
Yeah.
And everyone will make that mistake in the beginning because there's something about saying, man, I make over 100,000, or man, I make $500,000 or something like that, and paying it to yourself. But we were just having a conversation earlier,
Literally
right?
just talking about it, yeah.
So what does Jeff Bezos pay himself?
$28,000 a year.
Okay.
Is what Jeff Bezos pays.
So here's a man that's revolutionized how we buy, ship, and hold product, and his takeaway is $28,000.
Yeah.
So that tells you that now we know he got the ability to buy,
Whatever he
half the
wants.
planet,
Yeah.
obviously, but it's the way that you set that up. And for most people, they don't understand how to grow their business based off of taking equity versus profit. That's very, very important. We would not be able to have the other businesses if we decided to just take all profit.
Yeah, and that's the key thing I say I've seen entrepreneurs, their downfall has come with their business, is why they hit that glass ceiling is because they'll have a great profitable month or a quarter, and all of a sudden they have a brand new Mercedes out,
Say it again, man.
or they got a Birkin bag, or they just go on these lavish vacations, and all of a sudden when they hit tough times, there's nothing there. There's no reserves.
No reserves.
No scaling. There's not another company to bring income in. We probably saw this best during the pandemic where, those businesses that required face-to-face interactions, when that shut down, you had so many businesses disappear. But I think it also should have taught people the lesson that
Yeah.
you got to have another stream of income, multiple streams of income to be exact, so that when something happens with one stream, you still got water flowing.
You still got water flowing.
Yeah.
And then in home care, let's say a doctor. A doctor can, in theory, be part of delivering a child, handle him through his lifespan, right? You got a lifelong client possibly. I'm dealing with people mostly at the end of their life. It's their swan song time, right? So we have to consistently get clients, get clients, get clients. And then I'm in a state where you got probably over 800 home care places and more than you can count saturated right where I am. So now we have to get into you have to do a better job than everybody else. So, what does that better job look like? Doing things that other people don't do. So I got a very simple thing that I do, and I'm glad that we're recording this. So if one of these bums out there go out there and talk, want to make it seem like they came up with it. You can't. For me, you got to know when to be interested and interested at the same time. You got to know how to deliver what you're supposed to, but when they open up that box, all the toppings on there, stuff they didn't even think would be included. And I think that's the difference. So in short, like if you don't cause problems and be of value in life, you can't lose.
Right.
You cannot lose because there's not one person that come to you that's not trying to figure out. I don't care what they're doing. If you go to McDonald's to buy a Big Mac, your problem was you were hungry, or greedy or whatever it is. And if you go to the doctor, you got the problem of health or a checkup or whatever. So everyone's coming to you with a problem. So how can you can't stay in business causing problems.
True.
Right? And you got to be of value. So whatever your business is, someone's coming to you to figure out a problem, get a problem alleviated, and how you can do that and the experience they have while doing that is going to determine how you keep that client.
Yeah. Client experiences, is a key thing, right?
Yes.
And so that's one of the key things that I've always looked at is from the moment that a client, for example, enters one of my buildings, is I want them to have the experience immediately. So we were talking about this before of like even the scent, right? Where I surveyed like clients and people just see like what were the scents that like made them feel like at peace when they came in here. And so when people come into our building, every building we have had these scented machines in there. And that oil costs an arm and a leg, but I want to make sure the moment they come into the space, that experience already feels like a spa or it's premium. Because first impressions are lasting impressions, right?
Yes.
So even like, for example, when our clients come here, we usually have, staff that is in their suits. They're walking them to and from the cars. We're getting their stuff for them so that they feel like they're important and know they're important. Because when you start treating like your clients as just numbers, they want to come back to them.
Yeah, and that's why like even in the healthcare sense what we do, that's why we started a company because like care had just became a cattle drive, right? You go into a nursing home or somewhere like that, it's a ratio of I've seen CNAs come to work that work in facilities. They have 30 patients on that shift. What can you do to help them?
Right.
So they come in, they get a cup and they put the date on it and they shift in their initials and they fill it up with water. And that's the bare minimum that you can get away with is we had hydration for them, right?
Mm.
It's very tough. I don't like that. So I feel like I'm doing something good, I guess, kind of sort of. Not no righteous way or whatever like that, but one day I'll probably need care. And I couldn't imagine somebody just giving me some water, while I'm sitting there or having
Yeah.
to wait till you see patient number 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 30, then to come back to me because now I may have 2 problems, 3 problems. So I don't. We created that space. I know I do a job. I know for a fact Right Choice Home Care does something that other home care places they don't do. I don't have to argue that. The truth defends itself. There's at no point that we've ever had someone get worse in our care. Just
That's
recently,
impressive.
again, we had a lady came to us at 98, very busy family, and they did have some means. They thought she was gonna pass in like 3 or 4 months. She had her 99th, 100, and 101st birthday in our care.
Wow.
Not a bed sore. She liked to golf. We set up little putting ranges in her house and stuff like that. Just anything to make her experience the best it could. We always try to meet people at what they were, not they are now, what they aren't now. This is a very astute businesswoman. You look crazy talking to her like she's a kid, right?
Right.
When I would do supervisory visits, we got people in there. I would tell her about my business day, and she would tell me about how her business day was at 101 years old, man.
You know what was always stood out to me about is a client story you told me. And this is how I knew what your character and what your heart was. There was one of your clients that you talked about that you used to go visit her and watch the TV show with her.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
story has always stood out to me.
And this is how that happened. Ridiculously funny. Uh, she was bumping heads with her daughter. She didn't want care, and it was more because her daughter, she felt like her daughter make her daughter's in a whole nother state. Her grandson is there trying to talk grandma into getting the care. She has a condition where she certainly needs to have eyes on her. A couple of falls were happening, and we got called by the rehab she was in because we were on the list with their one of their preferred providers. I went in there and nothing I said, and I'm a logic salesperson. I don't sell on emotion because your emotional change.
Yeah.
So I try to sell on a logic, and it's probably to my detriment. But I don't want an emotional person. That I don't want to sell on emotion. I think that's weak and that's easy.
Very true.
I'm a person that's gonna give you something worth something. You bite into my burger, it's gonna be a whole lot of beef. So there's not gonna be a whole lot of fillers. So I'm doing my best logic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I finally got her to agree. So we're doing the service agreement and we're doing the service plan. And how do you do your payment? I said, well, we take your check, we void it, it's in our system, and we run it. And she said, "Oh no, you won't be doing none of that. We're not giving you." And I said, "Everyone, no, we're not doing that. You can come by and pick up a check." All right, now I got to come pick up a check. So the only way that becomes doable is if I kind of integrate it into how I do supervisory visits. Because your house becomes my ward at that point, right?
Yeah.
So we pop in when our people there to make sure everything is going good. How's your experience going? How's everything? Blah, blah, blah. So with her, I think her schedule may have been something like 9 to 3 every day.
Okay.
And so I would want to come by because she may want to talk to me about her experience. So I would come by when the person is about to leave. And I stopped by on this Friday. And her and her husband, she was probably 80 at the time, her husband 90. They've been knowing each other since they was 5 and 7. Uh, they sit there in the chair and I come in and Jeopardy comes on. And if you ask the right stuff, I can look far smarter than I am, trust me. So this day, everything happened to be math, science, and most people aren't good at math and sciences, and that's my whole background. So everything, I mean, for like 10 questions, I didn't miss.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there, and she was like, whoa, you know, and it became my thing to stop by there on every Friday to watch Jeopardy with them. It to me, it was like sitting with my grandparents.
Yeah.
And I grew a really, really close relationship with them. And I wasn't even in their care, right? Grew a really good relationship with them. The daughter is like my big sister. She's professor out east at Howard. She wanted her mom and dad after I think about 2 or 3 years. She wanted them a little closer to her because they were getting up in age. And she threw to my called me, hey, I'm throwing mom a birthday party. We had a a ribbon cutting for our new office, and Tanya forgot to tell me she switched the day. And there was no way we would have been able to fly in at that time because people at that age, their parties started like 10 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
So there's no way we were going to make it from this airport to Bowie, Maryland in time. It was like an hour drive. So as soon as the ribbon cutting was over, my wife and I got in the car and drove to Maryland.
Wow.
And I have that picture because they were video doing everything when she saw me there, and it was crazy, you know what I mean? But that's the human that I want to be, and I wish everyone else was. And trust me, I'm not no prude or anything like that, but I don't know why we can't be helpful to each other, right? So that one was real cool. Matter of fact, several of the people that we wind up coming in our care, their families, we're fine. I mean, I got 2 people that I took care of their people. Our company took care of them. I do business with them now.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm always looking for, if you have the certain characteristics that I can deal with, because I know me, I know who I can deal with and who I can't. And I always say it's only 4 type of people in the world. I can only deal with 2. The other one I may can hire and have them work for me, but they got to be way over there in the corner. The other one I don't want to have nothing to do with. So that's pretty much how I figure out who I want to do business with. So it's funny, y'all sitting here, and Andrew is far more appropriate than I am, but we got very, very similar backgrounds, right? And some like-minded things enough to where I'm here talking to you, right?
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to business, man, look for somebody that's good and know what they do. It's enough for those. You got to watch the people that do this emotion thing, or just watch the people that only want to make sure they win, because it's a lot of those out there like that. And I have people that I've done business with. Now you wouldn't advise it because you're an attorney, but we so trustworthy with each other. We've never had a contract.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And
Don't do that,
yeah,
y'all.
and the lawyer's gonna say you crazy for doing that. But I seek out decent, these people I've been knowing,
Yeah.
certain. I would definitely wouldn't go find somebody and they say, hey, let's go shake. No, we're not doing none of that. But I'm telling you, it starts with good people, knowing yourself and knowing what you can deal with and what you can't. That's very, very important.
Right.
And for a person like me, I've worked for myself for so long. I don't do nothing I don't want to do. And
True.
trust me, if it could be, I don't want to do business with you. Well, I don't like the way you're doing this project, or something like that. So I'm very selective of who I deal with. There has to be, long before there's anything else, that there has to be a certain amount of character. And that's something, as time goes on, people have learned that you win by having less character. So I kind of watch for that type of stuff.
So that actually segues into a perfect topic that we talk about quite a bit, is like making sure your circle is tight and the people around you are in a certain way or life. Can you kind of touch on that for those out there trying to figure out what their circle should look like or their friends should look like?
Everybody make that joke about, if you're around 5 broke people, you're gonna be the 6th. I say, if you're around 5 broke people that's your buddy and you can't make them be you, then what the hell is your purpose? Right? So everybody I'm around, they're not doing what I'm doing. And I got some people around that are doing far better than me, in a business sense or something like that. But my biggest thing is, if you're good to people and you don't do nothing to impede me, right? But I definitely am not a person that's going to ever inherit your problems. I don't want to, if it's always some drama or something going on, I don't want to do that. And, if your lifestyle is something that I don't do, I definitely don't want to be around you. But I like to be around people that I wouldn't mind coming in my house.
True.
Right? So off camera right now, one of my best friends in the world, a guy named DeMont, we met in college, DeMont, 35, 36 years ago? And he the same person that I met then. Went through a ridiculous gap where we didn't see each other, blah, blah, blah. Every time I come to Georgia to do business, the mom picks me up. We go back to his house. We act like we freshmen in college again. And then I go up to whatever I have to do business by, and I act mature again, right? But Demond, ridiculously altruistic if he know you right. Because he got another side too, right? But I think I do a good job of dealing with good people. I remember first time you ain't seen this guy. Well, how you know? Hey, look, Demond the same person I met 36 years ago. No pre whatever. No, I'm this. No, I'm that. The same person. When I got here the other day, I hadn't seen his auntie and his mom in years. They the same. Like you. This is what it go back to. You will never have a good relationship with someone who's not comfortable in their own skin.
True.
And that's the truth. If you find someone, with a whole lot of dip on their chip and they have no dip, get away from them, man. Because they're doing way too much to try to be perceived some type of way that they're not. So in essence, your whole relationship would be built off of a lie.
Yeah.
And we see that in that speaking space crazy,
Yeah.
So that's why I say I think it's easy to manipulate when it should be very easy for you to deliver based off logic and what you can do.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to run, and you will have far less people mad at you that did business with you because you're delivering what you say.
Yeah. And one thing I've also admired about you is that, every event I see you at, you have your daughter there, and you also talk
Yeah.
about your players. I can definitely see you trying to hand that baton off. Can you talk about the power of mentorship and just helping that tomorrow's youth?
I think we very early into this, we talked about sports, and we're both talking about our coaches
Yeah.
in the way it was like our dad, right?
Right.
Your upbringing a little different. Your dad was in the house. I knew what my dad was. He wasn't whatever, but my mom and dad divorced when I was 3. Um, so for me, like playing sports, it was like having that alpha male around, right? And then I was lucky enough. I'm gonna tell you how crazy it is and how destined it was for me to be mentored by a coach. It was destiny for me to be mentored by Coach Johnson. I actually I took the test for several schools in Chicago, got accepted by all, but I decided to go to CVS because Chris Zorich was there. Chris did play for Notre Dame, played for the Bears. That's why I was gonna go to CVS. And we went to go visit my grandparents in Tennessee, and I missed freshman orientation, and they dropped me from the roll.
Oh, wow.
Now watch this. Coach Johnson had left being the head coach at one place he was at, some just run about whatever happened there, and he was coaching waiting at CBS. So if I'd have went to CBS, you'd imagine I would have had him as a coach.
Yeah.
So last minute CBS dropped me from the road, blah, blah, blah. My grammar school principal's wife, Mr. Adams, his wife, Mrs. Adams, she was a counselor over at Dunbar. And we went to him and was like, hey, my mother, relationship with us when teachers had real relationships with your parents. Mr. Adams has seen me from 3rd through 8th grade. He says, my mom says, hey, they dropped him from the roll at CVS and they tell him he has to go to, this school that's in our neighborhood that wasn't a good school. And you had to go there for a semester and then blah, blah, blah. And Mr. Adams frowned and was like, these are his scores. And he was like, didn't you take the test to go to Dunbar? I said, yeah. He said, you want to go there? I said, yeah, if you can get it. He called his wife. Hey, I'm from the center, a guy and his mom over there. No, he had no. Yeah, okay. And he reached in this file, gave me my files, and we went to Dunbar, and I enrolled in Dunbar. And by the time the end of my sophomore year, Coach Johnson left CBS and came to Dunbar.
Mm.
So if I never would have if I never would have went to visit my grandparents and missed that freshman orientation,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had him on the most important part, the back end, right? I may have been there like for my freshman, sophomore year playing with him, but I wound up getting him at the right time because I was wasn't a troublemaker by no means, but I get bored real quick. And my school was by the lake. McCormick Place is right here. I could walk to Comiskey Park. So I did a lot of cutting early on, my freshman and sophomore year. A lot. Matter of fact, some juniors and seniors who used to follow me, they all flunked out. And I and then I didn't have nobody else to cut with. And then Coach Johnson come, and he's so strict, he came at the right time. And when I say that, man, he was my coach from 15 to when he died, and from the time I was 15 years old till I was till 2017 when he passed. And the coolest thing that ever could have happened, we had a home care company to help him in his last 2 weeks of life. And he used to talk to us about having our own and being entrepreneurs. So that man created that situation and benefited from it, right? And I say he benefited, I benefited more because it gave me another chance to have a certain level of depth of humanity and pay the ultimate homage to Coach Johnson. And what was funny was we had he still lived in the neighborhood, south side of Chicago in Roseland, horrible neighborhood. Him and another coach that was there for years with only 2 nice houses on the block, both retired coaches. His yard pristine, everywhere else people doing whatever. But even then, the vermin respected him enough not to bother his house. They wasn't allowed at his house. They'd go somewhere else, and stuff like that, And when he was dying over that 2 weeks, it had to be at least 600 different athletes in and out over his 42-year career. Some flying in, coach, I wanted to say something to you, got to leave back out. People bringing their grown kids in there. This is Coach Johnson. It was crazy, but that's the type of effect he had. And what's sad is we don't have that type of organic people with that type of ability that'll do it organically, not cloaked by some political agenda. They don't get a chance to do that stuff no more, you know. And that's sad to me. So some of the best people that could get us out of this silliness that we in and teach discipline, not victim mentality, because I see people with a victim mentality all the time. And if I was a victim, I wouldn't have a victim mentality. You guaranteed not to do anything. That's an absolute. And people with victim mentalities are so easily manipulated to do things that are detrimental to them. So I don't just that mentorship. You better have a mentor. You better have someone that know more than you. Ideally, and you got to respect them to a level to where they can tell you to shut the hell up. I just told you I had 5 people in the world that could probably come to me and say, man, shut up.
Yeah.
And I lost 2 of them. And I mean, that's just something, like people that helped you along the way. The guy you got shooting, this is someone you coach.
Yeah, Raphael Hatley.
So here we go with that same, you keep the wheel going of mentoring. You did right by him. You made him into something, and now he's of value and don't cause you no problems because y'all have been around each other so much, right? So I think that's the key to everything. And we're failing miserably in the mentorship place in our community.
Sadly, yeah, that's
Miserably.
that's the gospel right now because back in the days it was fine to buy a person the meal, right? Yeah, but if a kid didn't have a way to get to school, you would give him a car ride to school or make sure his parents
I'd
had
be afraid to let some kid on South Side Chicago get in my car. Y'all watch the news and how crime is encouraged in Chicago, man. Stop. I mean, you're dealing with the byproducts of a social engineering that just, man, took us from this. I don't know who this lady was, But she talked about how she came from the South and they had nothing, but everybody washed their front porch in the morning, washed it, pour water out there, take the broom, wash it. They scrubbed the floors, whatever they had, it was clean, it was whatever.
Yeah.
And she said she remember coming up to Chicago and they still had, you could live in what was the hood, but you still kept everything nice. You still did whatever, whatever, whatever. And older lady, okay, now I remember who it was. It was a client of ours. And I'm talking to her, and she said, and now we the opposite.
Yeah.
With far more opportunity, we don't care about nothing. I remember when I was a kid, this guy in our neighborhood, he was a street guy, never did street stuff in the neighborhood, respect the neighborhood. And I'm sure this guy did more bad stuff than you could ever imagine. And we had one of those Chicago blizzards, and it got cold. My mother's car battery is dead, and then we snowed in. I get out there, and he like, this Newman, he's jumping my mother's car and digging her out. And this is a dude. I ain't gonna snitch after the fact, but I guarantee he and Mason people had a bad day.
Yeah.
And he out there saying, "Hey, Miss Newman, turn it now and see if your battery is charged up."
Respect for that.
And he's shoveling her out, right?
Yeah.
I remember that. And now 10 kids are standing on the corner with a blunt in their mouth and won't let your mama pass with groceries.
Sad.
So we in a crazy place in our life. And we better do something about it. I know this is a business talk, but when I think about it, who the hell gonna be the next up?
Yeah. It's a social pandemic.
Yeah, so we have we have an acute problem that I think if we keep going about it the way we do it with all this sensationalism and having young, undeveloped minds follow behind nonsense and what they think is good, we're not going to do that but exacerbate what is the biggest problems in the Black community. We like to feel good instead of deep grit.
That's a good one. That's a good one because, yeah, I see it too much, especially when I was a high school head coach in the Hollow Risk border. We're, same way we had to go. This was a program that had one in like 2.5 years. They were like 0-19 or something like that. Like probably. And we never had a losing season there. And people always ask you, what did you do? And I was like, we built self-confidence in the kids, respect for the community, and just trying to establish a legacy. Because the problem I see in all community big, they focus on legacy when they're in their 50s to 60s. Life was already passed.
Already gone, yeah. You don't even have the same energy at that point.
Correct. So we got to instill the importance of legacy from when a young person is ye high, so that they value your elders. They value not dropping trash on the floor.
Yeah, that simple stuff, right?
The basics that can change a community, the basics that can change a business, the basics that can change that person's life. Because sometimes those small things are the difference between life and death. Because when they're in the community by themselves and they don't have that mentorship and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Or, hey, you don't need to be around the cool kids, right? We end up having to go to these funerals. I can't tell you the countless number of players and students that I've gone to their funerals since I retired from coaching in 2013 December. I think I'm at 20 something funerals I've gone to for students and players. And psychologically, it messes you up seeing that because these are young people that have such promising futures. But when they left the organization and the structure, especially like my players of the program, where I had staff members that I told them, I don't need you to be the best X and O's. I need the best male figure in somebody's life. So I had coaches that were you coaches in some aspects, but they cared about fits. And the greatest thing I see online today, even fast forward now, 20 something years later. No, sorry, my math is all wrong. But 10 plus years later is the fact that I'm seeing my assistant, especially on Father Day, getting messages from our players saying, "Thank you, coach. Thank you, coaches." That means I picked the right men and women to be around them on an everyday basis. And I can tell you, we probably saved a lot more that could have been victims, homicide, and the prison system and different things, or just society. And they chose to do ball because in life, we're all given that opportunity to make a decision of choice. You can go right, we go left. But at the end of the day, you need to go what's right in your mind and what's right in your heart. And you said the mentorship element is on. Some people now are thinking what's right is what they see on social media.
Yeah, or what somebody putting in front of you to make you feel good.
Yeah.
It's our biggest problem. I don't. Okay, watch this. We learn about, especially in the little mass, we learn about touch points, right?
Yeah.
When you walk into this place, you got a scent thing, right? So you touch them on a olfactory level, right? That shows you how much the brain is geared to pick up stuff that it don't even see, right? So think about the effects of what you see. Think about, hey man, I don't want to get all preachy with this, but it comes right back to business. If your heroes are conducting themselves in a way that I don't know no father that would want most of these women that's being put in front of your face uh, as entertainers would not appreciate if that were their daughters doing that, right?
Right.
But these people have more effect over your daughter than you have. They can. There was a time to where if you wanted to talk to somebody on the phone could be busy. But now someone can inundate your child, these messages or text to whatever.
Yeah.
So you talk about I bring my daughter with me places and stuff like that because I don't want her to see the alternative. I want you to see, especially in the group we deal with, right? I want you to see that no, it ain't just you and it's not just me and your mom. It's not the few people you see around. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And then even with when I take her places, she's smart enough to kind of use deductive reasoning and say, okay, well, it's still a little bit of this goofy, but this is the gold in it, right?
Yeah.
So everything you got to do, oh man, look, stay away from the goofy, try to find the gold, right? But we definitely have a problem in that, and all that come right back to business, right? Like what are we gonna do? What does sales look like in the future with how people are now? You know, what is home care gonna look like? With how people are now. What is anything gonna look like with how people are now? So I think all of that's very important, and I probably soapboxed it too long, but that's my community. Might not be the house where I stay in and how that, but it's my community, period. And even going into our Caucasian brothers and sisters community, it ain't too much different. They inundated with some goofy stuff too, you know. But I think it hurts us the most. And I would love to see more. The men when I was growing up had no problem. Hell, Mr. Harrington, 2 doors down. That was a man that see you on a Saturday, have you do something for him, and then give you a hot dog. Now, what's the psychology of that? You work to eat. This man didn't have no degree. This man didn't have whatever. But if you did something for him, the first group of kids, he might have them move some stuff on this side of the garage. Later on, he'll have the same kids move it over here. But just so they had done something that felt like they worked for something.
Yeah.
It's the simple stuff. It's not the big stuff. You take, okay, here's a group. Considered one of the top elite special forces groups in the world, Navy SEALs. The first thing you're gonna do and what they'll tell you to stay consistent is make your bed every day. That's your first win. Make your bed. Make your bed. You'll have a visual win as soon as that's done. And when you start having that type of discipline to continuously do some stuff like that, I mean, it's gonna change you. Period. You know, you look at maximum effort sports. You can't depend on no team with that. There's you and somebody else. That's a different. The most disciplined person in those things are the ones that win.
Very good.
You know, I tell you something else that's maximum effort. Being a damn entrepreneur. No, they will. That's as maximum effort as you can get because you're going against the big corporations, you're going against the wannabes, you're going against the people that may be able to do whatever, but it's always competition. And you have to be in tip-top shape. And with the best product, giving the best experience, doing what you say, and that's very, very important. So again, me, I'm not no prude. Everything didn't go right for me, but I lasted. Sometimes you don't have to be the best. You just gotta last because somebody else gonna mess up their spot. So and when you younger and get in trouble and now you got the Stephanie on you, it's a wrap. You know. It's just something you already wind up shortening the list of things that you can probably do. So I think that's crazy. You know, that's pretty bad. We need to do something in that way in our community. And I hate I ain't got off of this. This is a business talk, but sometimes we got to be in the business of our community.
Yeah, that's the key thing too. Is a lot of times, I hear people saying that, "Hey, I'm not in business because, I don't have the time and I want to do good in my community." And I tell people all the time, if you have the funds and you have a developed business, you can effectuate change at an even larger magnitude. Because let's be realistic, it takes money to make change.
Absolutely.
For those that are thinking that it doesn't, you haven't sat in the seats then
Oh
or
no.
the experience. You're watching what's on YouTube, the thing that's reality. That's not the truth. But why it's important is, and why this falls into the line of entrepreneurship is you have to have a purpose of why you're doing something. It has to be bigger than you.
Yeah.
You have to figure out your why. Your why will determine a lot of key things in your life and how you operate, how you act. He just mentioned the first thing the skills they teach is get in their bed though. And the average person think, oh, why is that a win? It's because it's something that starts your day off showing that you made progress. And that's the problem that we have today. We don't do things for progress anymore. We do things for likes. We do things for followers, but we do things that we think is cool. And that's where I see a lot of entrepreneurs that are failing because the only time that I really hear from entrepreneurs when things have gotten really bad,
Yeah.
especially on the legal side, like things have already hit the fan.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what do I do now? But if they would have started off with even like finding a mentoring business, finding a coaching business, the someday, or just even had proper morals, morals will take you a long way, a very long way. And going back to what we started off, discipline.
Yeah.
If you treat people right from the customer experience, you'll do well in this industry. But it's like I said, it's not cool, right, to do that because how many times do we see people shaking hands or just telling people thank you anymore? It's no longer cool, baby, when you get bikes. So when people don't feel appreciated, what do they do? And and if you don't treat the community right, you don't treat the people around you right, they're not gonna be around. Like one of the problems when we built this building out here is I saw women at night walking their dogs in pure darkness. And I saw people in the bushes, homeless people there in the bushes that were, harassing them at times. So you know what I did? I went and hired an electrician and I got the same lights that you see in Walmart's parking lot. And I lit this whole neighborhood up. There's no dark spots in the front now. And from that, I can tell you, I've had the neighbors in the community come over and say thank you because they were afraid to come out after the sun went down. They don't have to have that fear anymore. And those are the types of things is like, does it cost me more now on my electric bills to have those lights up? Oh, without a doubt. But I know in my heart that if I sat back and didn't do anything about that, because I think about my mom had the dog. And if she's walking and somebody assaults her, and I think about the people that are walking out there, somebody's mom, somebody's sister,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
is I could not at the end of the day sit back and say, hey man, if you just order some lights, that may have not happened. So that's one of the reasons why we have all the lights that we have in the back of our building, even putting up some on the side of the building that's not mine because there's a sidewalk there that's dark. And I don't want a woman, a kid, or even a boy or a guy walking there and get
Uh-huh.
assaulted one day. So the key thing is when you have a business, you have to think about your community. It's the businesses that separate themselves from community that don't last. Because there has not been an area that I've had a business that I've not gone and spoken to the youth, being active at the parks where the youth are at, is because I want to be present where I'm at. I don't just want to be somebody that's coming into a community, taking their money and disappearing.
Mm.
Like we have workshops that are already lined up here in this space that are for kids to come free to learn about content creation, learn about using a camera, learn about video production. These are tools that can help guide them in the right direction. And I'm going to have guys like yourself come here and speak about just life on how did they get here. Because I've realized that we now need, as business owners, we need to manufacture the future that's coming behind us. And manufacturing means bringing in people that are positive and role models that they can hear of. Hey, life just wasn't green the whole time,
Oh man, tell
you
them it
know?
was just
And that's
yeah.
the false sense that we are seeing out there now is that people think like you're at the level because everything's great. Like my parents got divorced when I was in the fourth grade. I saw my mom. We had a Thanksgiving one time where we went to the grocery store. We didn't have enough money, and the cashier had to say, "Hey, don't worry about it. I got it." And so life has definitely not been easy. I saw my mom make so many sacrifices for me growing up, where she would take away from herself to make sure I had it.
Yeah.
And that could have just been clothes, that could have been
Mm.
shoes, or there wasn't a time in my life I didn't play. I was in a sport from baseball, basketball. I would always be like, "Mom, what's next?" Because it's like that's what I
But
thought was just natural.
keep you busy,
Yeah,
kept you off the streets. Coach Johnson, we're Chicago public school that probably, I don't know if the rules were on practice times or whatever then, but we didn't leave we didn't leave the school till like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
it's funny you say that.
And it wasn't about all these, practicing more than anybody. It was about keeping you out your environment,
Yeah,
and when I came back, when I got out the service, I went to I went to visit Coach Johnson. Hey, what's going on? Hey man, what you gonna do? Man, I'm gonna probably go back to school or something at some time. Hey, man, I need some help up here, man. I had these two assholes, man, and they set this program back for 20 years, man. Fucking robbing bullet, them motherfuckers. He said, man, I need you to come up here and coach. I said, Coach, coaching is not on my radar right now.
right.
True story. He says, people made time for yo. And after about the 30th MF he called me, he gave me a background form and said, fill this out, man. And that's why I coached with him.
Yeah.
Who else is going to get me to do that? I wouldn't have never done it. I never would have done it. And it was me feeling what he did for me having the certain level of respect for him. And again, that was that person that could tell me to shut the F up. You need a shut the F up person. You need a person that you revere or know that you're getting something good enough to where you can just listen to them and do it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing we do, we question people that know how to do it and feel like we can do it some other type of way, man. And sometimes, it is It's like Tetris. One come down like this, one come like this. It's
Telling you
kind of
wait,
it's telling you, you know what it. Okay, whatever the puzzle is, right? I could have went longer than that. I could have said perfection or something like that. But it's building blocks that have to connect the right type of way for you to get the end product.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing I see. And I'm telling you, if you do that first business right, you gonna have some trouble along the way. So the other thing about entrepreneurship, if you weak, man, try something else. That's why so many of these people are keyboard warriors and sit behind something because they don't have to show you their flaws or they don't have to show you and prove who they are. I'm sitting here and I'm telling you right now, I'm nothing special, man. Uh, and if you never met me, depending on your interaction with me, you'll probably say, "Whoa," and it may take that third or fourth time for you to say, "Oh, yeah, all right." But you have you if imagine if coach, we both coach, right? Imagine if we had access to the other team's coach playbook.
Yeah.
You know how much easier that would have been?
Way easier.
But we had to watch 10 of their films, keep playing it back and forth,
Yep.
learn their tendencies. Coach Johnson, man, he made us watch so much film. I didn't like going to the movies. Um, you know, hey, that team, what you notice about them? We'd have to watch all these plays and break down if they were a right hand or a left hand team. Like people don't even think about stuff like
They
that.
don't.
Some teams have a tendency to run a higher percentage one way than the other. And that'll tell you that, man, that left tackle ain't who they say he is. Or that right tackle ain't, or that quarterback can only roll to one side. So I had to do all this research to realize, oh, the way to get him is bring somebody in and have somebody, you know, seal off the perimeter, right? Imagine if you could get their playbook and didn't have to do all that research. I mean, just imagine that, right? So a person in your life like a Coach Johnson, a person in your life like your coach, or Mr. Harrington, they was teaching you something. You just got to be receptive. Most of us are not receptive to being taught. Most of us don't understand, you know, if what you listening to, you should take in. Because hey, you shouldn't listen to everybody. I'm a validity person. You can't talk to me unless you have validity. And if you got it the goofy way, I don't want to hear you.
True.
You can't have a conversation with me unless you have validity. You can have a conversation with me about like butterflies and shit or something like that, but you can't have a real, you cannot direct me and give me advice in business unless you've done. You could tell me what not to do, maybe, or how you wound up getting stuck in some type of, you know, I'm gonna use another word that may date me. I just had this teacher used to say rigmarole, whatever that means. I don't know if I ever. It might be in the dictionary. I
I
don't know,
don't even
but
think that's in
yeah,
the.
you
I
get
heard it a lot too.
yeah. That's that old
Yeah.
stuff, right? You
Yeah.
get caught up in this rigmarole, right? Just this cocktail of nothingness, right? So you definitely gotta have a person that can tell you to shut up and do it, and you don't question it. Now, in business, you absolutely have to be a person. If I'm doing a business deal, I'm trying to acquire some business or acquire something, I'm gonna do all my due diligence and all that, and I'm gonna be extremely skeptical, extremely skeptical. But if I have someone that I know have done something and they giving me the cheat code, why question it? Coach Johnson gave me the cheat code the day he told me negative things elicit negative consequences, positive things elicit positive consequences. If you think about that, that'll set you up for your whole life.
We will, without a doubt. And it's funny.
Period.
It's funny you mentioned, the playbook aspect, right? Of getting the opponent's playbook. That's one of the key things I say as entrepreneurs. We are blind to our competition because a lot of times we just think, I'm gonna reinvent the wheel and build the greatest thing ever. Sometimes all it takes as an entrepreneur, as you know, is just learning what your competition is doing and do it better. Like I can tell you, there's zero of my competitors out there. I'm gonna tell y'all this: there's zero of y'all out there that I have not gone through your client experience. May not have been me personally, but it's been a staff member that has gone through your client experience from the beginning to the end And I've paid for that because literally I want to see like, where are you messing up at? That I make sure my team is not messing up on that.
Mm.
And literally we go from the experience of going through your consultation to even buying your product and seeing like, how do you deliver your product? Did you call me to follow up to see how I liked your product? How did I like your service? And that's how I've gotten to the point that I've gotten is I invest into that playbook of my competitors.
Mm.
And people don't realize that you should probably do that. And the great thing about today, businesses put all the information on the internet.
Everything online. Yep.
Everything is online, so I don't have to spend my budget as much as I used to because everybody puts everything online. I can go on your website. I can tell you how many people go to your website. I can tell you how many people leave your website after a certain period of time. I can show on your website how many, where are they clicking on your page, all these types of things. This is how like I view business now, going back to the football scope of things. I take that type of analytics and data to make sure my team is not messing up that way.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you're doing something good, I'm going to figure out a way to make it better. So, you know, I love that you brought that up of just the playbook aspect because you literally just turned on the light bulb of, I think that's something a lot of y'all out there should know is know who your competition is. And you don't need to be front facing and always be the loudest in the group and all right there.
Yeah. I mean,
I like being behind the scenes.
man, say it again. I don't want to. I would. Funniest video in the world I ever seen was I think they may have been in New York or something, and it was some ladies taking like a selfie or something. They were taking a picture, and George Lucas comes out of the store behind them and have to like kind of get around them and go. No one knew who he was. This man had just sold his franchise for $2 billion. He got on this goofy t-shirt, some sandals, and some shorts. And he just came out there and walked past them, whatever, probably hailed a cab or something.
Yeah.
Worth billions. And then you mess around and do good with your business for, have a moment, and you go out and buy a 600. I hope you can sleep and eat it. Hope you can sleep in it. Hope it can market for you. Hope it can go see your clients, because that's a hell of a lot of money you just put into something that depreciates.
Yeah.
You start making a whole lot of money and want to pay yourself more. You're going to pay more taxes, or you're going to find a way to make that money do something to grow the business. Makes no sense. And I'm fortunate enough to have a certain level of discipline, a wife that ain't gonna go crazy with no money, and some people that have shared some things with me along the way that I didn't question it. And now, me being as imperfect as I am, I'm doing some pretty cool things. I'm not George Lucas by any chance.
Not yet, man.
I'm not even George Clinton. But I'm doing, my daughter gets to see us be entrepreneurs every single day.
That's a blessing.
That's better than her going to Harvard. Because then people graduate from Harvard and they go work for somebody too. And I'm trying to let her understand that she can call her own shots. Nothing wrong with going and educating yourself. Everyone's not going to be an entrepreneur. But if you're going to come into this space, there are some things discipline-wise that you have to have. You have to, I may have told you this, Sean. I said, I'll never go broke because I think like a single mother. And I know my mother, I never saw her kick it. To my knowledge, the only man she ever knew was my dad. I never saw her have a boyfriend. She went to work. She did everything she could. When I talked to her, she said her mission was to never, ever be on assistance. That takes something away from you. You guys know what a wolf would do, right? We baby a wolf to the point where we got the dog Sean got, that little bitty lopso that need help, got to be picked up to get upstairs. That's what you're doing when you got a victim mentality. You turning from what you can be to survive to looking for a handout. That's not good. Um, in business, you have to think about the next move and how that's going to happen. And you got to think pretty far out, but not lose focus on what's right here in front of your face. And it's a very funny dance. And I've had to figure out some of it. And some of it was some of the game was given to me. But I think the best way you learn is to get out there and do it. Follow through. You're gonna have some hiccups along the way. Hell, Jeff Bezos had some hiccups along the way.
Yeah.
You know, all these people have hiccups along the way. But it's the difference between what you're gonna do. This is what football taught me. You get knocked on your ass, you get back up and do it again. That's life. And Coach Johnson used to say, I teach life through the game of football. If a coach just teaching you how to play football, he's not a good coach. These are the words that he used to say. We had all these different, and he didn't, I don't know what he knew about marketing or any type of thing like that, but you know, as a writer, he had 2 masters in psychology, and he used a lot of psychology to get the results that he wanted. And I promise you, and when I sell to people, when I go into a house, it's logic and psychology for me, but not the psychology that trip you up. It's psychology bringing you to the logical conclusion that you're going to be better dealing with me. Now, all I have to do is show you that you have to be better and deliver that you're doing better being with me.
Yeah.
And I do that at a very high level. We had a lady that went through 5 companies like mine in a year period. Had some hiccups when we first got her as a client. 2 years later, this lady wanted to throw us an appreciation because she's never had a company like us in her care. So right before I came down here, she threw a party for our staff and every CNA, every caregiver that was in her care.
It's a blessing. That is definitely.
That's and I don't know no one getting results like that. I don't. I don't know no one doing stuff like that. So for me, it's not for me, if you do a good job, the money will come, I guess. I mean, I kind of think of it that way. Another guy, people along the way, I had another mentor, not a mentor, but I worked for him. He was an entrepreneur. He's a brother, worked in his office for a little while. And he would always say, don't focus on the money. He was like, money is a byproduct of a good service.
True.
And that stuck with me. Now he was a person that paid himself a lot more every time he made more money, and eventually his lack of discipline led to his company going down. But he was dead on with money is the byproduct of providing a good of service. It's not the other way around. And we mess up, and the money makes your eyes get big and stuff like that. When you get that money, the goal should be, how long can I keep it? How can I make it work for me, right? You talk about not taking profits and building out things. That's the only way you're gonna ever really truly keep your business in scale.
And I know we've had you here for quite a while here.
I went off. Hey man, listen, I went off on a tangent. You know,
you're fine.
I'm not robotic. I'm kind of passionate about certain different things. I tell everybody, man, I like old people, kids, and animals. You know, people in the middle. Hey man, you know, you should have got it. But I really like to take care of mine, which is what's around me, right? I like to give knowledge when it can and when I'm able to. And let's be honest, everybody don't deserve your time.
Right.
You know, you gotta be doing something good the way it make me wanna, you know, whatever. And probably to my own detriment, but it's never failed me. If I'm in a new situation, I might watch y'all for 2 years before I ever engage. Because I don't want to waste my time getting to know you, and I know I'm not gonna deal with you. So I'm that person that sit back and kind of look. I let people form their own opinions, whatever. But it lets me know who you are.
Yeah.
I don't do pretensions. I can't be around people. I don't do pretensions. I've been around. I've been around, I mean, some guys that really, really have done it good. And you wouldn't even know the clothes they got on. That's crazy to me. And if you look at it, people that cater to an audience that doesn't have their stuff together, either in business or whatever, it's gonna go out of business. The companies that went out of business during the pandemic, they catered toward people with nothing. Like I think Rolls Royce and Bugatti and them sold a whole bunch of cars.
Yeah.
Different type of market that they're looking for. I'll try to help everybody if I can. But you can't be the person out there doing whatever you want to with your money and your time, and then expect for me to give you my time. Because if I take the time to say hi to you, I could put a dollar value on that, man. Because I just took some time out of what I do. And you gotta almost be like that. Like have people around you that don't cause problems and can be of service. I just gave you, now you can go on ahead and add some shit to it if you want to, but what I just told you is the gospel in life. I promise you, if you just do those things right there, your life will be better.
There y'all have it.
Kid you not.
There y'all have it right there. That's the recipe. He couldn't say it any better than that. And so for those out there that want to reach out to you or just learn more about, Right Choice, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Wow, now you go bug me. All right. So I'm joking when I say that, but I think about it because I like to stay under the radar sometimes. But my company is Right Choice Home Care. It's not that we started it and built it up. We didn't buy a franchise. So rightchoicehomecare.com. That's actually the one company he's talking about now, the home care company. If you wanted to reach me, my email would be jnewman@rightchoicehomecare.com. Right being RIGHT. You should be able, if you can't spell home care, then I don't want you to hit me up. So I just tell you that I'll tell you it's not the RIT, it's RIGHT homecare.com. If you can't figure out the last part, then you're in that category of people I said that can't be of value and gonna cause me problems, man. So that's it. So I'll give you it's RIGHT homecare.com. You should know how to spell the rest of that. All right. So man, it's been cool, Drew.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you coming on here, man. I know you've had a crazy schedule coming all the way from Chicago and making time for us and just educating those future entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs.
You make time for people that are of value and don't cause problems.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Hey, man, you my dude.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, thank you.
And y'all, we have something special coming in August. There's going to be an announcement coming soon. So John and I have something we're cooking up, and be on the lookout for it. So this is Andrew Rhoden, Johnathan Newman. We appreciate you. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.